What's up, guys? My name is Marcus Huskins, and thank you for joining me. As always, if you're finding this content useful, please go ahead and do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and I appreciate your support. So I'm taking a look at the Audio Batch Converter, which was a new product that PreSonus launched in parallel with Studio One version 4.5. It's available as a paid add-on in the PreSonus shop. Batch converters are useful for a lot of different functions, but in this case, I want to be taking a look at one specific feature, and that is converting the file format of samples so that I can create new sampled instruments in Studio One. So I've got a Finder window open here, and I've filtered out some results in terms of just giving us enough to create a basic 1-octave instrument. I'm just using one velocity range and one round robin from one of my sample instruments. So first thing, I'm just going to drag this in here. And now these are immediately available for playback, so we could addition these. So I've just added a basic set of parameters here. I've added an Oxford inflator, and I'm just boosting the effect 100% for sake of demonstration. If we listen to this with the Oxford inflator off and I was to play, and if I turn this back on, it's just giving this a little bit more energy, so that's useful. I'm also bringing the gain up a little bit, and then I've got a tiny fade that I've added, and I could do concave or I could do linear. Let's just leave it at linear for now. I'm not going to use a fade out, that's not needed, but the idea here is that these files are WAV, they're 24-bit, and they're mono. Let's say I wanted to convert these to something completely different for the sake of building an instrument, but I like my source samples. I've changed the output format. If you have it deselected, it automatically says keep. But if you select these options, you have the option to choose different formats. So in this case, I've gone with FLAC, 24, 44.1, and let's make these stereo. So once you're happy with anything that's in your process rack, it's really simple. You just choose an output folder, or you can choose to put them in the same source folder. I've actually created a different folder altogether, new samples at 44.1, and we can go ahead and push process. And this is just going to render new files, and it's going to bring them in here. So I've got my new files, and they are now FLAC 44.1, and they're stereo. The idea here is that I want to build my own custom instrument. So let's drag in an instance of Presence XT. I'm going to open up my editor. I've purchased the PreSonus Presence XT editor add-on, which allows me to create my own custom instruments. We'll go into our Files tab. I've already navigated to this folder. Let's refresh this. Now I can drag all of these files directly in here, and then they just need to be mapped out so that they're playing at the proper pitch. There is an option here where we can right-click and we can apply parameters from file. I'm not sure if there's a specific naming convention that needs to be used for this to work. That's something I might look into, but for now, I can see the names in the actual file name. So it's something, for example, I could just go A4, just copy that, and then I would just paste this into the low and high range. Now I could also have these ones play up to 2 semitones, but that's something I'm going to change later. So I'm going to touch back with you in a couple seconds here. I'm just going to make these changes and map out all of these zones accordingly. Okay, so I've mapped these all out. Now the next thing is, if we head over to the player, you'll see that these are available to play here, but you'll also see that they're only mapped out to certain pitches. Let's adjust our release somewhere around maybe like 1.7, 2 seconds. All right, so that's working. Maybe we can add a bit of verb. We'll add some delay for now as well. I go back into the editor, and if I go to grid mode, we can zoom in using our mouse scroll wheel. I want to select all of the zones that I need to extend. I can hold down my control on a PC or command on a Mac. This allows me to select all of these. Now the one that's highlighted, if I make a change to this, it'll apply to all of them. I'm just going to drag this out, so this will play. Essentially, each one of these zones will play for 2 semitones. So this gives me essentially a chromatic instrument. So if I was to record enable this, and let's just bring up our QWERTY keyboard, and we are in the proper octave. All right, so this is now a playable instrument that we've created. So using the batch converter to convert samples, you may have folders of samples that are in MP3 or they're AIF or an antiquated format, and you need to convert them to something that works for you if you're creating your own sample instruments. Really, really easy way to be able to do this by just using the audio batch converter. You can make basic adjustments by giving them a little bit of processing. In this case, we use the Oxford inflator, made sure that our fades were good. We made sure we brought the level up so that it's a little bit more competitive. Really, really useful tool. And it allows you to do this in one shot, and it allows you to have a lot of control in terms of where your file locations are going and everything like that. Anyways, that's all the time that I have available for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. I will do my absolute best to get back to you. And as always, we will catch you in the next video. Cheers.